This is an absolute heist for the Toronto Maple Leafs as a brand new report has dropped once again as it pertains to Matthew Knies and his future in Toronto. And this is a lot better than Leafs fans initially expected. We're going to break that down as well as discuss some other updates ahead of what's going to be a crazy week ahead. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. Before we get into it, if you're a part of the 71% who aren't subscribed to the channel, we're on the road to 30,000 subscribers. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. And thank you guys again for your continued support. And once again, bear with the setup. I'm back on me and Darius switched again. Darius is on the back to his normal setup. I'm traveling. So bear with that. Quality still should be good, but I'll be back to my normal setup there in a few days. There's ton to go over here, and obviously we're going to be focusing on Matthew Knies today because Mitch Marner talks are heating up, all these different things, and by heating up, I mean heating up with other teams, and rumors are surrounding other teams are dropping. But we have something to talk about today, and that is just the urge, but also a new report that has dropped surrounding Matthew Knies. You can see this here. Matthew Knies' contract extension should be top priority for Brad Treliving. And there was a lot of quotes this week about the Maple Leafs and their dressing room. Of course, that was last week. But I thought this from Matthew Knies flew under the radar. He was asked how the team gets better next season, and he basically went on to say a bunch of different things. But there's new reports have started to drop, and we covered one a couple of days ago. And new reports are starting to drop in general about what Matthew Knies is going to get, but also confirming that he's willing to stay in Toronto. Chris Johnson came out and said it. There's been a bunch of rumblings about it. He's going to stay in Toronto, and it's a matter of how much he's going to get. And I think no matter what here, he wants to be a Toronto Maple Leaf, and I think that commitment is going to allow the Leafs here to get an absolute heist of a deal just because of his projection going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And you take a look at the projection here, right? It's in the ballpark of what we've been talking about the last little while. And obviously, we had a video a couple of days ago about, it's looking like it's going to be maybe a shorter term deal, maybe like 3 to 5 years, something like that. Obviously, if you're the Leafs, let's get that 5-year deal. But, the price might go up a little bit. But he's going to be in that range. We've been talking about like $7 to $9 million. And even if somebody were to offer sheet him, let's say, it's going to be in that range, if not more, right? And we'll get to that in a second as well in terms of compensation because things have changed in terms of offer sheets. But it's going to be in that range. And I think I'm okay with paying him that. I do have to say, because this has come out, in the last day or two, that people are saying that this is now the number one priority. I still think, because you don't have an answer on it, I don't know if they do internally, but your number one priority right now, if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs and Brad Treliving, is a resolution on Mitch Marner. Is there any world where he will resign? Figure that out. If not, move to the next priority, which is Matthew Knies. And I think it's him over John Tavares because this guy is going to be a big part of the future of this team, right? Players are going to come and go, significant pieces. People want Austin Matthews traded for some reason at this point. I think he'll be fine next season. He'll probably be back to his regular self. But Matthew Knies is going to be a big part of this team. He plays the game the right way, and he's a playoff performer, right? So you have to get that done over John Tavares for me, because John Tavares, it'd be nice if he returned, but you have to figure out what the dollar amount for Matthew Knies is first to retain his services and make sure that you're set for the future. So that's the next priority for me. And again, I think it's going to be somewhere in that. They can do like 5 years, maybe $8 million or something like that. I think that that's okay because he's not going to go longer than that. Again, I've been saying like 8 times 8 or something like that. Maybe wishful thinking because, the salary cap's going up. It would look great down the road, but obviously the players and their agents know that as well. So, there's going to have to be a little bit of back and forth, but it's going to be something like that. Hopefully it's like 5 years and somewhere in that range, 7 to 9 million.
Yeah, and he's only 22 years old. And again, the report that came out a couple of days ago from, I think it was Chris Johnson, highlights, you mentioned it, a 4 to 5 year deal at 7 to 8 million. And I saw some people in the comment section saying that that's too much to pay for a bridge deal and all these different things. I think no matter what you sign Matthew Knies to at this point, it's going to end up being a steal of a contract just because of how good and how many players there are, or lack thereof, I guess, players that are like Matthew Knies. And I think that's the biggest thing. And the way offer sheet compensation works, on deals longer than 5 years, the AAV is calculated at a 5-year value. So you can kind of see here, there's a ton of picks that have to go with it, and there's been some rumblings about other teams wanting to offer sheet Matthew Knies, the Bruins being one of them, surprisingly. And ultimately, Knies has come out himself and said that, hey, this is the team I want to play for. I'm not even entertaining, agent and I aren't even entertaining any offer sheets. And I think that's kind of what you have to say if you're Matthew Knies, because at the end of the day, the Leafs are going to be the team. If there's any team, that's going to pay him, it's going to be, of course, the Toronto Maple Leafs. But the report by Chris Johnston regarding the 5 years, $7 million, do you think that's too much money? And also let us know down in the comment section, because you see here the average cap hit, all these different things between 5 and 7 years is around 7.3 million. So it's right in the range of that. But if you're only having for 4 years at 7 million or something like that, you're gonna have to repay him even more 4 years down the line. But at the same time, the Leafs' immediate goal right now is to win, and I think having him locked up for the next 3 years, which is in the window, is a good plan. And then if he becomes a 40 goal scorer somehow and magically becomes, even better at scoring, you can pay him accordingly in that 4 or 5 year mark in 2030.
And that's exactly where I was going to go next because he scored 30 goals this year, right? And that was a gigantic leap. And a lot of people, I see a lot of stuff out there, and there's a lot of noise from non-Leaf fans saying there's no way you're going to pay Matthew Knies $7 to $9 million. It doesn't work. You'll never win that way. Think of the value that he brings, the way that he plays, right? What he brings to the table in the playoffs. He plays the right type of game, and he's putting up those types of points in the regular season now. He's not even 24 years old. He's only going to get better. So I can see him as a 40 goal scorer, and he plays on the wing of a 60 goal scorer, like a multi-time 60 goal scorer, right? So, I think that's a great recipe, honestly, up there on that line. They complement each other very well. Obviously, I've been very critical of Matthews and Marner playing on the same line. Don't think that's going to happen in the future, right? And I've been critical of that on the channel. So maybe they can find a different formula there. But I like the way that Matthew Knies plays and what he brings to the table. And a lot of people say, and it could be true that, maybe he wouldn't be able to drive his own line. He wouldn't be a top line player on another team. That's what the Leafs got going on here. He's a big part of the team. They have to retain his services. And if he's scoring 40 goals, clearly something's working, right? And he wants to be compensated for it. So it's going to be up there. You can't get you can't sign a 40 goal scorer for $4 million when he's entering his prime. It doesn't work that way. And we have to keep in mind, because we're so stuck with the cap being frozen for the last couple of years. The cap is going up significantly over the next couple of years, every single summer. So what you used to think of as a $2 million player won't be anymore. They're going to be like a $5 million, $6 million player, right? It's going to be different. So we have to start thinking that way too, that a lot of these guys are going to be getting paid more, when in reality, a couple of years ago, $10 million was the highest paid player. It's just not what it is anymore.
Yeah, and you look at, again, there's a bunch of different things you can look at, but Chris Johnson himself tweeted that, Matthew Knies himself, said, I want to be here, I want to play here, and then, of course, that's sparked the conversation about, and we discussed it on the video with John Tavares a couple of days ago. Tavares seems to be willing to take a great discount. Matthew Knies, on the other hand, I don't think is going to take that same discount, but I think if you can go ahead and, of course, get him, that'll be a top priority. And a lot of people are starting to come out now, Matthew Knies, and start to say, this is from Rachel, Matthew Knies must be a top priority for a contract extension when it's all said and done. Not a soul should be signed before ink is dry in that deal. A young power forward who plays this style his team sorely needs, scores big goals too, has to be that priority over others. And I think ultimately the priority is going to be Mitch Marner, just because of the magnitude. At this juncture, Mitch Marner is a better player than Matthew Knies as it is right now, but I think Matthew Knies is the more important player to this Leafs team right now and going forward than Mitch Marner is. So it's going to be interesting to see. Let us know down below what your thoughts are on this, because at the end of the day here, he's going to get paid big. Reports are starting to come out that he wants to take a bridge deal, and that's going to be a big deal going forward, depending on what it is. And I think no matter what, I know some people are saying 4 or 5 years, $7 million isn't great for the Leafs. I think locking him down is the number one priority, and I have full confidence that they'll figure it out from there. But one thing, Darius, before we wrap up, you can see here, shout out to William Nylander, got the bronze medal, and he went from a brutal playoff series, brutal on his body, playing a ton, he worked hard every game, to getting bronze there. So congratulations to him, and hopefully he can come back. And there's not going to be a lot of talk about William Nylander because he's under contract for so long, so got to shed him some love when we can. But let us know down below what your thoughts are on that. Do you think Matthew Knies is going to get what number do you think he's going to get? And are you excited to see him get extended? Because it seems inevitable at this point, according to these reports. We'll see you guys later. Thank you guys for watching.